So there's quite a few features that are available in Simple Strat, and much like the previous videos, I'm going to be going through a lot of this stuff in more detail in each section as far as the configuration side of things. But just to kind of give you an overview as far as what some of the main features are. Obviously, if you've watched the previous two videos, you know by now that you can configure the heck out of so many different things based on the strat and based on how you want your ideal setups to be configured. Once you configure your setups, what will happen is on the screen on TradingView, there'll be this box that will dynamically show you as you check different things on and off as far as configurations. It'll dynamically show you what the probability has been, or what is, I guess, based on the historical values that configuration had generated. And so what do I mean by all of that? So first and foremost, in the settings, you're going to select what account currency you have, and I'll talk about this in a second, which, it's definitely helpful, specifically in Forex trading. The amount of initial capital. So for these results over here, I put this here so you have some sort of idea. I put a $10,000 initial capital amount of the account. I put a risk tolerance of 1% of that $10,000 capital as far as the amount that I'm willing to risk on a single trade, which equates to $100. And then the max allowable capital in one trade. This is more or less for margin accounts. I put this in, and it helped me because I didn't want, the Simple Strat's going to calculate your number of shares to purchase, and that's one of the things I'll be talking about here. Your number of shares to purchase based off of the point of entry, where the trigger is in, minus the initial stop that it actually has automatically calculated based on your settings. And then it takes that difference and divides it by the risk tolerance. So I needed to make sure that I wasn't buying just an unbelievable amount of shares if that was a real tight stop or a small number. I've mitigated some of those concerns when it comes to minimum stop. So anyway, this just basically is telling the tool, hey, so don't commit more than $40,000 in my margin account to one single trade. And again, these are just made up numbers. So what we look at is, this is actually a result of, I think it's Coin. So with the setup that I had put together, which this is a I think it was a time frame continuity. So on the month, week, and day, I want it to be red because I'm going short. On the I think I was looking for an hourly strat signal, which means I was looking for a reversal on the 60-minute, and I was entering my trade on the 5-minute. None of this you have to worry about because it's going to do it all for you. But it's good to just at least give you some context now. You may not even know what all those, how that all those things are possible, which I'll go through in a future video. So based on the settings that I had created, the profit for this was almost $5,400. Return on investment, 54%. All trades that it took. So the number of trades that it met based off of this was 88. And a quick note about this, anytime that we break even, anytime, our stop gets moved to break even and we stop out, I don't count that in the total trades because I just want to see the winners versus the losers. I don't want this number to also include break evens. So out of that, the win percentage is 56. So 56% of the time we made money on this setup. The risk to reward is 1 to almost 4. So for every $100 that we're risking, we're making $380, which is not bad at all, right? With the 56% win probability, with the risk reward here, you don't even need to win 56% of the time, and you'd still be making a good amount of money. The max drawdown on this configuration through the period of time, which I think it was like 6 months or so. The max drawdown was 4% before we actually recognized another high. If you don't know what max drawdowns are, you can Google that and take a look. The settings were set up for short. The average winner, $149. The average loser, $49. And so this gives us the backtesting results and gives us a really good idea of how, if we were to set this configuration up, what the probability would be that this same exact configuration would work on future setups. Historically, it did pretty well, right? So I talked about that. So one of the things that I want to talk about here is what the tool does, and I alluded to this in the beginning, or I think I did at least. What the tool does is it looks, based on your configurations, it looks at what the entry price will be if the bar triggers, right? What the entry price will be for your trade. And then it looks at what the stop, because it automatically calculates the stop based off of the things that you input. It'll look at what the stop will be, and it subtracts, well, if we're going long, it's going to subtract the entry minus the stop, and it's going to give you a dollar amount. Well, we take that dollar amount and we divide that by the amount that we're willing to risk on the trade. Sorry about that. The amount that we're willing to risk on a trade, and we get the total number of shares we can afford to buy based off of the setup. So basically, it's calculating on the fly the exact number of shares that you could buy based on your risk tolerance, based on where it's positioning the stop. And this is applicable if you're buying shares, obviously. If you're not buying shares and you're buying options, obviously this isn't going to be too applicable to you at this point. However, I am working on adding options capabilities into this as well. We'll have, kind of limited, at the money option purchases, or, a couple strikes away. So that'll be for the future for sure. Because I trade options as well. So I spoke a bit about, so I just reviewed the, this part as far as the risk per trade. One thing that it does, and I made sure, because I also dabble in the Forex side of things. When it comes to the account currency, this is your account currency. So let's say you have, your currency is euro, but you're trading a Forex pair of US GBP. Well, we need to accurately convert your euro exchange rate to the pair that we're trading, in order for us to accurately calculate the number of shares that we need to buy based off of the stop, based off of so we need to make sure that we're being as accurate as possible. So what this does is it automatically converts. If you flip to a Forex chart, what it'll actually do is it converts whatever you're looking at as far as the pairs into the equivalent of what the local currency would be when it triggers a buy and obviously a sell. So that was something that was important to me personally. I needed to make sure I needed to make that as accurate as possible. And then of course, alerting and automating. Those are features that I've already spoken about. There are, like I said, a multitude of other features that will come out in some of these future videos, but some of these things, these features for the most part are kind of like the bigger ones. I have an option so that you can check a box and say, you know what, I want to take more aggressive setups. I don't want to just take reversals on the lower time frame to enter on that higher time frame signal. I also want to enter on 2-2 continuations instead of just a 2-2 reversal or a 2-1-2 reversal. Things like, I want to flatten all my positions at this time of day. If I'm a day trader, I don't like to carry positions overnight. I could tell it to flatten all positions at this time. If I really want to see how good this performed in a given period of time. Maybe I didn't want to go back 6 months, but I really want to see how this performed over the last 30 days. I have means of being able to bracket, basically, dates, to filter based off of dates, and it'll only calculate these metrics based off of those date ranges that you create, and so on and so forth. There's quite a number of settings and features that you can add to this. So hopefully this was helpful for you. Thanks.